For the blessing who has taught mankind just David so believe one
Son Jesus Christ. Father, it is so easy in the midst of all the noises and confusion of everyday life to miss your voice. Open the eyes of our hearts and our minds, that we may recognize your presence, Lord, even when we are at our lowest points of desperation and points of confusion. Father, you are our deliverer, and have always been faithful to your promise that you will never leave nor forsake us. Help us, Lord, to look more closely at your nail-pierced hands and feet today, and increase, Father, our trust in you. Lord, you are God of all the seasons of our lives. Yes. And you fill us, Lord, with the abundance of the earth. Today, Father, we give you thanks for all those who work the land, our farmers and gardeners, and those in the agricultural sector. They till the soil, plant the seed, harvest the crops, so others may eat. We beseech you, Holy Spirit, to intercede on their behalf, that their yields may be abundant and economically viable. Father, with our eyes and hearts focused on the agricultural sector this evening, we commend our country in your hands. A country rich in resources, yet left to languish due to the neglect and the don't care attitude of the persons responsible. Father, agriculture is only given attention on the radio and not on the farms where it is required. Change this around, Father. Change it, Lord, that the farmers can get the attention and assistance that they rightly deserve. Eternal God, we offer to you the United Workers' Party. We place its leader, its president, its deputy leader, its general secretary, all members of the executive, we place them in your hands. Father God, provide the guidance and direction for this great party. Help us to plant seeds of hope, nurture fruits of the Spirit, be harvesters of justice, and growers of grace. We place the host of this evening's program in your hands, along with all the guests. May the words of their mouth and the meditation of their hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God. And may this program this evening continue to be a source of inspiration, education, and information to all listeners. We ask all this in the name of our risen Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much and good night. Fellow Dominicans, I want to welcome you to another United Workers' Party radio program, our third program for the year. I want to welcome the National Executive and our supporters at home and abroad. Fellow Dominicans, I want to recognize the presence of the party leader and welcome him, Glenroy Soso Coffey, my co-host, the deputy political leader, Ronald Charles, and our guest speaker, former Agriculture Minister, Peter Carbon. Brothers and sisters, fellow Dominicans, the United Workers' Party believes strongly that agriculture is the pillar of the Dominican economy, and any government that is serious about developing Dominica must pay special attention to this pillar of the economy. That is why we are going to have a series of programs, weekly programs, focusing on agriculture, identifying the weaknesses and showing ways and means we will transform the agricultural sector so that we can improve the lives and living of the Dominican people. I want to, before we start the meat of the program, I want to remind you that we have A raffle, will be raffling a car to raise funds for the day-to-day running of the party and to reach the people out in the countryside. So I want you to support the raffle. It's only $5 a ticket, and we would be very happy if you could participate in the raffle and to ensure that the message of the United Workers' Party reaches the people. We are not going to wait for elections for us to reach the people. We will reach the people via the radio, the television, and on the ground. Brothers and sisters, I want to start by giving my speakers a few minutes of opening remarks. And in this regard, I want to call on my co-host, Glenroy Soso Coffee, to share some of his opening remarks, some of which is associated to the whole pillar of the Dominican economy agriculture. Thank you, Mr. Coffee.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Piaro. Let me say a special good night to Dominicans, wherever you are. Special good night to my constituents of Roseau Central, to the executive of the United Workers' Party, and all the organs affiliated to the party. Let me just say to Dominicans abroad and here, whatever medium that you use to listen, we appreciate you tuned in, and we do appreciate your participation. And so, yes, third edition for this year. And let me say the quote for tonight's program. And we always give a little quote. I say, quote, "You can live in many ways, but there are ways that do not let us live." You can read between the lines of that. Let me say that, Dominica is really a country that has potential for growth. Notwithstanding all of this, we have been witnessing a degradation in the various sectors of Dominica's quest to become a productive nation, a nation that can feed its people sufficiently, a nation that can produce enough food for us to consume and to export at the same time. And that is because we have lost our way. This government has lost its way with respect to how it is administering the various growth sectors of this country. Notwithstanding, we know all is not lost because we have the manpower, we have the resources within the United Workers' Party to at least bring some hope for our people and to develop a plan of action that could lead this country out of the morass that it is in and to bring it to economic prosperity. And so tonight's focus on the agriculture, still a number one pillar. We'll hear from our guest speaker later on. And this is our focus. And by the way, we cannot exhaust the topic of agriculture because it's so important and it's so wide. Because agriculture entails so many different areas. It is just impossible to discuss this area in just one night or in a few hours. So never mind, we will be exploring a few issues before we get into the meat of our program. And so you will hear from our political leader very soon in terms of some current issues that we may want to just touch on before we get into the meat of it. So Dominicans, tune in. We are poised and ready to interchange, to interact with you. But we also want you to play your part and to call in and to give your take as to how you see things shaping up for our beloved country. Thank you, Mr. Piaro, for the opportunity.
Yes. I know I will just call on Mr. Carbon just to share some of his opening remarks in respect to the agricultural sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be part of the discussion tonight. I wish to congratulate publicly the political leader and deputy political leader and all the other executive members of the party. I can see a new light, a new life being bred into this party, a life that will expand the reach of the party and motivate, encourage, inspire the group of young people who are looking for new opportunities in our country, Dominica. So I want to be part of it. I want to contribute to it and ensure that Dominica becomes a better place.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carbon. And now I call on the political leader, the Honorable Fontaine, to share his thoughts in the opening remarks.
Yeah, well, good evening to you, Steve, or PRO, of course. Ronald, Deputy Political Leader. So it's great to have you as well. And Honorable Kawan, it's great to have you in our midst tonight to harken back to glory days of agriculture in Dominica. A very good evening to all of our listeners, all of the people, persons who support Team Dominica, and every single Dominican who has an aspiration, who have dreams for a better Dominica. It's good to be with you tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Workers' Voice. And agriculture is our heart. Agriculture is my heart. It is the heart of our former agriculture minister as well, who did wonders during his time as a agriculture minister during the years 1995 to 2000, when the United Workers' Party assumed the reign of office in this country. So we'll talk about some of his ideas. He's still very much involved in agriculture where he is, and still have lots of great ideas. We communicate on a fairly regular basis. I know he has some great ideas as far as agriculture is concerned. And we just want to share with the Dominican public. It's all about sharing. It's all about, talking about the vision for agriculture, talking about the vision for our country, and really helping Dominicans understand that things can be different, that where we are now, this cloak of despair and hopelessness that seems to embrace a lot of Dominicans, that these can be dispelled and we can have a better, brighter future. And that's what this program is all about. Of course, even before we go into that, we'll be talking a little bit about Dominica and the Chinese relationship. I think that's a very important topic of discussion. We've just celebrated, quote unquote, 21 years, I believe 20 years since Dominica officially engaged China in diplomatic relationships. We witnessed on social media our prime minister doing dirty business and dancing away in China, and you wondered what the dance was all about. You wondered about the choices made and the decisions made so far. Interestingly enough, I was on a program earlier, on a sports program, and we had a small discussion about this very same topic, and there was a lot of interaction already coming in on social media, and persons, I think, misunderstood, where I was coming from, and I will spend some time to really clarify, and to explain. This is not about bashing China. This is not about talking about we are going to suddenly, change diplomatic relations. That is, it's not about that. It is about discussing how, as a country, we can get the best out of this relationship for our people. China is looking at the best interest of its people, to the extent that when our prime minister went to China, the Chinese made a big splash. They had a huge release for all the 1.5 billion people, that relationship with Dominica was good for China, because they were exporting $72 million every year to Dominica. It had increased by a significant amount in the last year, and they were proud to announce that. It shows a sense of pride. It shows that they're concerned about the people. They're happy that they're exporting those things to Dominica. Okay, so it is about that. It is about how we can change that relationship in a way that it is beneficial to our people. And how can we benefit from a China-Dominica relationship other than the projects that we've seen? How can we benefit? I think at the very heart of this is how can we access this market? 1.2 billion Chinese on the mainland China. How can we access those markets? That is a discussion I want us to have with the Chinese authorities. We have a number of products already being manufactured in Dominica. What it would mean is scaling up those products. I talked earlier about cold pot soap, but there are other products. There are a string of products, and over the next few weeks, we'll be identifying those manufacturers. We'll be highlighting those manufacturers, and I want to announce to the Dominican public that in our major economic conference or summit that is being planned for June 4th to 6th, we'll be highlighting our entrepreneurs. We'll be highlighting our young people. But beyond that, as a follow-up, as an immediate follow-up to our economic conference, we'll be having an entrepreneurship and youth focus. So we'll be looking at entrepreneurship. We'll be having where we'll be able to display all of the products that have been done by Dominicans. We'll be talking about how we can encourage and help those Dominicans to expand, to grow their businesses, and put a special emphasis on the young people. That is where our focus is. It's about looking after the interests of our people. And all I'm saying is that in that relationship with China, we certainly can be doing a lot more for the people of Dominica to benefit from that relationship. And one way we're going to focus on is how we can get our products on the Chinese market. The same way we buy those plastic toys from China, the same way we buy those, I don't know, what else do we buy from China? I saw we buy a number of things, and I see a number of shops all over Roseau. So we buy cutlery, we buy pots, we buy pans, we buy all sorts of plastic implements and so on. So we can have similarly our products made in Dominica on the Chinese shelves. That's the kind of discussion we need to have with the Chinese authorities. And I believe that they will welcome that discussion because the Chinese are very forward-looking. They're very industrious people. They in the past 30, 40 years, they've moved China from a backward peasant country to a superpower. And that's only happened in the last 30, 40 years. So I don't think the Chinese government is averse or will be negative to us demanding more from this relationship. If anything, I believe they will encourage it. But it's up to us as Dominicans to look after our interests. And that is where, as a party, that is where the focus is for us. How do we grow our entrepreneurs? How do we grow our young people? How do we create wealth in our country? And, I want to thank Teacher Ernie for a wonderful prayer, because in the prayer, she made the point that we have the resources. God has blessed us, and we are thankful to God for the resources that we have. The question is, how do we use those resources to bless the world? We have great products. We have great people. We can do things. We can do better than we've done. I am not happy with what we benefited out of that relationship over the last 20 years. And any right thinking Dominican, beyond the stadium, beyond the roads, beyond the construction projects, any Dominican would agree with us tonight that we certainly can do more. We certainly can do better. And that is what this is all about. So I wanted to clarify that, because already some people are misquoting me online that, hey, I don't want the Chinese. And so, no, that's not what that is about. It is about ensuring that the people of Dominica get the best out of this relationship. That the same way the Chinese can boast of millions from Dominica, we can boast in the future that we will have those same millions to benefit our country, to grow our economy, and to improve the lives of the people of Dominica. That is what we are concerned about. That is our focus, and that is what we're going to be addressing.
Thank you very much, Doc. We're going to open the line for a few minutes to get some involvement with our callers, our supporters out there, with the Dominicans out there, hearing their ideas before the second half of the program, where we go to the meat of the program. But before I do so, I just want to send out get well greetings to the many Dominicans that are not too well and those that have fallen. I want to continue to pay special attention to Kenneth Telemack from Wesley, who passed sometime last week. There's going to be a memorial service for him on Sunday at 6. And I think it would be nice if the people of Wesley would show up at the Wesley 4 Road on the platform to share their thoughts and ideas and the history with him. He was indeed a stalwart in the Wesley constituency. So we're going to open up the line now to get anything. I want to also get well greetings to my brother Gibbons Benjamin, who is not doing too well, and so on. Anyway, I'll get the line open. See if we get some calls.
And then while we wait for the calls, also, Mr. Dupi, the young man, I understood very promising. I did not know him personally, but I understand he's a very promising young man. And it's unfortunate to see that we've lost another one of our own, and we really want to extend condolences to his family and to his loved ones, and just urge them to be strong during this very difficult time. and thank God for his contribution to Dominica. From everything I've heard about him, he was quite an upstanding young man and contributed a lot to this country, even in his young years. And we're really, really grateful for his life, and we give thanks for that.
Thank you. Yusuf.
Okay, thank you. The on-air numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616 or 4257, and you can call right now. We also have the overseas number. It's 305-432-9624, and of course the WhatsApp number. Okay, thank you. Caller, you're live.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Dominica. Good evening, St. Joseph. And
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My name is Lyndon George.
Yes, Mr. George.
And earlier on Sports Rap, I heard those guys talking about the Taiwanese. I want to congratulate the United Workers' Party, especially the Minister of Agriculture. I want to say first, thank you. And may God bless you and your family. Because I can tell you, I felt your presence when all you was governing Dominica. I was just a layman. I remember when them Taiwanese was in Dominica. They was riding Talapay by Belfast there. They had them pawned. And people like me was invited to take training with those Taiwanese to how to extract male Talapay and female Talapay. The reason for that, the male, in growing up, they come big for harvest. In the Clagol area, I was able to make a big pond where those Taiwanese was able to bring Talapay to rest in my farm. When it comes to Tanya planting, they taught me how to plant Tanya. So I am saying, when I watch that, I see that these people work for Dominicans. Your direct benefit from these people to Dominicans. So I want to thank you. I pray in Dominicans. I'm not doing it for a show on the radio. I was just saying to the young people of Dominica, the United Workers' Party recognize young people and they give them opportunities. And I pray in God, all you take that advice from me. Not for party, but for all yourself. God bless Dominica. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're live. Oh,
All right, live.
sorry. Okay. The number live at 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, and the overseas line is 305-432-9624.
Yeah, in the meantime, we do not have a call. I want to support the political leader with respect to the sentiments that he has expressed with respect to the relationship that we have with China. It is not good enough just to, it is not good enough to just have established.
Yes, sorry, Zuzu. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Mr. Ronald Charles, Deputy Leader. Good evening to Dr. Thompson Fontaine, Political Leader, former Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Carbon.
Good evening.
Also for Rosso.
Hey, good night, my brother. Good evening to you.
Yes, I'm just calling to commend you all. I'm listening. And Dr. Fontaine, as you said, the people believe you are against China. But I know we have to engage them because it is a one-sided relationship. Only China is benefiting. And if the relationship cannot improve, that Dominica benefits, then we have to leave China and go somewhere else where our people can benefit from the relationship. You know, and I want to tell Mr. Carbon, I looking forward to listening to him. Every time he is on the radio, he always have some important information to share and to tell us how Dominica used to be. Teacher Udi, thank you very much for the prayer. The only thing I didn't like with your prayer was that you were saying for things to improve. When you're praying as the Almighty Yahweh to remove that party from office, the only way Dominica can improve, that party has to come out from there. They cannot, they have expired. There's nothing they can do for the country. Good evening, gentlemen, and I'm listening.
Thank you, caller.
Thank
you for
you.
calling.
Thank you.
Yes, caller.
Yes. So I was saying that it is not just good enough to establish diplomatic relations. We must find a way to establish trade relations because Dominica does have the potential to export a number of things to China. So while we're talking about and boasting about the relationship, China is putting a lot of money in their pockets from our work, but we need to put some money in our pockets from our work so that we can at least bring a better quality of life to our people. So, Mr. Political Leader, I'm happy that you have echoed these sentiments and I've not heard anything that you have said against China. Instead, that you would like to see a relationship whereby we look at the opportunities that we can get through trade so that our people can sell some of what they are producing, some of their talents, and export it to China so that we can make enough of the we can at least generate enough foreign exchange for our people.
Yes, indeed. And think about it. So you're talking about almost $6 million every single month, coming out going to China. Every $6 million.
$6 million.
That is a lot of money. It does not even include the imports of vehicles. So that tells you, how lopsided or one-sided this relationship is, and we need to demand more. And that's one of the things I hope even our even our music, even our why can't we do more to engage them on that level? And that is the question I'm asking the Prime Minister. So it's okay to dance. I'm nothing against rapping. I'm nothing against you trying to impress your hosts with trying to sing. But at the end of the day, are you looking after the best interests of the Dominican public? And that is what you're put in office for, to look after the best interests of the people of Dominica. And sadly, this Prime Minister has failed on that level, and so in that time, in that period of reflection, of looking back at the relationship, there was not much I saw written on our end, but I saw a glowing report card from the Chinese. They had a huge write-up in all of the major newspapers about how they're benefiting from the relationship with Dominica, and we could not do the same on our end. And that to me is very shameful. That to me is unacceptable. And that is why I'm saying that as a people, we need to demand more and we need to demand
We're
better.
gonna call.
Yeah, caller, you're live.
Good evening, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Let me just say, sir, I love what you guys represent and what you guys pushing for. But the one thing I think that needs to be established, you guys need to quit asking the present government to do things. Let's move forward from that. You guys have brilliant ideas. Let's keep on putting those brilliant ideas up front, and then let's forget about asking the government what they should do.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We do appreciate that.
Yeah. And if I should add, the caller,
caller, you're live.
Caller is on. Caller is on.
Go ahead, Mrs.
Well, Mr. Piaro.
Yes, the last caller is very correct. Some persons are saying that the present administration will steal our ideas, but they cannot manage, they cannot implement. So, Teacher Ernie, our candidate for and caretaker for the Cassibus constituency, is correct. You hear things on the radio, a coconut replanting program, and nothing. They promised farmers since last year September some planting seedlings to plant plantain. Nothing. They came up with a passion fruit project to plant passion fruits in Dominica and ship the pulp to Martinique. Nothing. So they come on the radio and you hear the news preaching pretty ideas, but at the end of the day, nothing. So they cannot implement nothing. So we are just reminding the people, educating the people that the United Workers' Party is on focus. We are telling you what we're going to do when we get there. All we're waiting on is your mandate to give us the opportunity to serve you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. Callers, the line are open. It's 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, or the overseas line 305-432-9624. You can call.
So we'll try to get it. Yeah. So Mr. PRO, I think, well, the calls are coming in slow, so you could
Yes, well, you're very correct. I mean, we have been waiting for quite a while now to hear from the former agriculture minister. So I'm going to hand over to you, so for you to introduce my pal rep who represented us in Parliament for 15 years, the Wesley constituency. So go ahead,
okay.
sir.
Yes, thank you again. Yes, so the reality is, farmers in the developing countries, more so in Dominica, I mean, they have been poorly informed with respect to agricultural advancement, and more so, you see, agriculture is losing its sort of efforts and grip on the younger generation, who tend to probably look for other lifestyles and actually migrate to the urban areas. Notwithstanding, when we talk about the production system, we are talking about involving inputs and outputs. Therefore, now inputs has to be converted to outputs. And when you talk about inputs, you are talking about probably planting materials, human resources, talking about energy, you're talking about even information and technology and money. But the important thing is that when these inputs are put into the production system, they must yield something. What they yield? Outputs. And these outputs have to surpass that of what you put into it. Because if you are making less than what you put in, then you have already failed. But if you put in more than what you are getting, obviously you are showing that you are efficient. And not only does that, this type of transformation must be controlled and managed. So, brothers and sisters, tonight we have a distinguished gentleman with us. He was the head of extension. And by the way, I know you said Mr. Pierre is your pal rep, but also this was my former manager at the DBMC. At the DBMC, he was the head of extension. He was the head of fruit quality. He acted as operations manager. And even prior to that, and let me just tell you, this man has 52 years experience in the agricultural sector from school, right? Prior to that, he did postgraduate studies at ECIAF, the Eastern Caribbean Institute for Agriculture and Forestry. Subsequent to that, he undergone studies in England with fruits and vegetables and marketing. He had become now, after the hard work he has done, the farmers of Dominica trusted him with their votes. And they put him in, they elected him, and under the United Workers' Party, who won the election in 1995, he became the minister for agriculture. He is former Minister of Agriculture and also former parliamentary representative for the Wesley constituency. Brothers and sisters, without further ado, I welcome to this forum tonight via digital platform, via the digital framework, Honorable Peter Cabot.
Thank you very much. And let me say good night to the panel and good night to all Dominicans, especially the farmers and the farm families. If we were to ask anybody now under 40, do you know any farmer who used to make $5,000 a month in Dominica? They used to ask you what you're talking about. But So and Steve, you know that there were many farmers earning over $5,000 a month from the farm before that Labour Party. And I say this because people looking for opportunities, they're looking for jobs, they're looking for means of making a livelihood. And if you can make $5,000, $6,000 a month from farming, then young people will be interested in farming. Now, I want to say, no farmers, no food. No food, no survival. So, Dominica has what it takes to produce. We have the record of being the biggest lime producer in the world in the 1900s. We were able to move our non-banana export in 4 years to almost $30 million a year, in addition to the banana production. So Dominica has potential. And if you just go back in history, E.O. Liebler became very loved, very popular for one reason alone. He invested in our farmers who used to be peasants at it before. And they earn money and build their families. As they provided new opportunities for people like us, our generation, we must now prepare to give the next generation a better life, because that's the only way we'll have improvement. We got to improve life from our parents, and we need to prepare a better life for the next generation. Now, agriculture provides a lot of opportunities. And as a government, we recognize that we need to prepare the young people to participate in that important industry. So we had a program for introducing agriculture in schools. The curriculums were developed and everything, the people were trained and were ready to go implement that program. These were cast aside by this present government. We had a program for young farmer training and development program where we recruited young people who had access to land, provide them with the training, and give them an allowance that will allow them to develop their farm. As they get the training, they will develop their project. We will do the capital funding of those projects and provide them with resource so that they can develop their farm. That too, we got the funding, grant funding for that program. That too was put aside. So the whole framework for introducing young people into agriculture was put aside for 20 years. Today, you hear people say young people not go into farming. But you can only encourage people to go into farming if you have a means of funding them and motivating them. Let's say that agriculture now, today, has a lot more potential for making money than we had 20 years ago. 20 years ago, your main outlet was small markets, farmers market. Today, you have every supermarket chain buying fresh produce. Every hotel chain, every restaurant chain buy fresh produce. So it gives us an opportunity now to negotiate and develop a contract system with those entities to supply them with fresh produce. So what is required in Dominica today? We must go back to what worked for us. We had a DBMC. That was a regulatory entity by law that provided the services to farmers. Farmers didn't have to be worrying about inputs, didn't have to be worried about the not even insurance, about extension, research in terms of the pest and disease and control of pest and disease. They didn't have to worry about all the services. They were there, funded by the farmers, and ensure that they had everything they need to produce. The Labour Party disbanded the DBMC and really destroy the service sector to agriculture. So I think the first thing we have to think about is reorganizing a national entity that will provide organized farmers and provide services to farmers and ensure that they provide marketing services also. Two, we need to have a brand because everything now is branded. And Dominica, as a nature isle, I can boldly say that our plan was to have Nature Island products as the brand for Dominica. So we'll be selling the brand and people will get to know, oh, that's bananas from Dominica, is Nature Island bananas. It's plantains, whatever we sell, both fresh produce and processed produce will be sold under a brand name. But to have a brand and keep it of high quality, you must have an entity to ensure that you maintain the quality standard. So we had we developed what I call a product development unit, and that unit would be able to provide technical services to our manufacturers, as well as ensure that they have the necessary requirements to enter any market. because markets want to know the ingredients, the food value, and ensure that the produce is safe. That entity will be able to give a stamp of food safety to the entity. So I say this because agriculture is not only going out and plant. It requires the support system that will ensure that that product is produced and is marketed, and the money comes back to the farmers. So so we need a national entity, we need a brand name, we need a service, regulatory service for ensuring that this product can stand up in any market. The another area I figure we need to do is to be able to sell our recipes. I mean, we know that banana pie or yam pie can stand up to any other pie, macaroni pie, potato pie, whatever, and it tastes nicer. I believe we can develop a product that can go on the market in a dry form, maybe dry the yam, add your ingredients, and all the consumer have to do is add water and bake. And that product can stay on the shelf for a long time and can be exported all over the world. So that is the kind of potential I think we have. That's just for agriculture. In terms of livestock, I just want to say
Honorable, I don't want to disrupt your flow, but I wanted you to stay a little bit. I wanted just a little bit more because I'm taking everything that you are saying, and I really want to thank you for giving us the benefit of your experience and having done it and the way you look at the whole question of agriculture. You've just highlighted 3 critical areas that we need to focus on. But I wanted to go back about the one on national identity, and I wanted you to spend a little more time to explain that to us, because I think what I hear you saying is that we need to have agriculture in a way that all of us can identify with it. The same way we identified with bananas. We were proud to know that our bananas were being exported to, and everybody, the whole country, participated one way or the other in the product. Whether it was our ladies who made the money from carrying the boxes, whether it was me as a 12-year-old, stapling boxes to pack, whether it was someone else in the field, helping the farmers and so on. Money was being made around, and there was that whole idea that this is something that all of us could own. And I want you to kind of stress that a little bit more to our listeners, because we are looking forward. We are using the benefit of the experience to help us look forward, because what we're doing here tonight, we are taking notes, we are listening, we are planning for a better Dominica. We are planning so that when we assume the reins of office, when the people of Dominica see it fit to allow us to become the government, then we can take those things forward. So it's very important for us to understand this. And so, I want you to focus a little bit more before we go into livestock, because I know I wanted to talk about livestock and fishing and so on, because, all of the things that you did. And even in agriculture, I remember you were the ones, I believe it was during your time that the whole question of coconut water was preserved. I believe it was during your time that coconut water was preserved. And now when I go in the US, the coconut water on the shelves from Thailand, the people from Thailand are benefiting from it. So talk some more about that identity.
I'll go back. I'll go to the national movement, but the coconut water story is one that really hurts, because we presented a project to FAO that asked them to assist us in the research that will to bottle coconut water, because as you know, before that, coconut water was being sold refrigerated. So it was very difficult for us to export coconut water refrigerated. And they agreed. They sent on the scientists, and right in London Dairy with people like Roger and Ramadine, and these people go and they work with them. They maybe use about 1,000 jelly nuts, cutting nuts, and trying different ways of preserving it. and they found out that the coconut water had a latex in it, and that latex is what make it turn bad. So they were able to filter the coconut water, and coconut water could remain on the shelf for years. So we had 7 years as the originator of the technology to implement. And we were working with the Coca-Cola bottling plant, because they had all the machines and everything, bottles and everything. So working with them for us to be able to bottle it in Dominica. FAO would supply 2 refrigerated trucks and would have buying points in up in Rosalie, Londonderry, different parts of Dominica. Farmers would bring their nuts, they will cut them, put them in those trucks, and bring them to the factory. And I said we had 7 years to implement it. But the government just disregarded the project, and the 7 years went by, and everybody else started. Philippines, Brazil, everywhere, part of the world, even Jamaica, started buying coconut water, and Dominica is yet to start. So that is one area we have lost completely.
Wow.
But
This is mind-boggling.
there's a lot of initiative we took in those 4 years that if the government had just allowed them to go, Dominicans would be making at least $100 million a year in those projects. Well, about $500 million a year, because we had things like a crab famine. I mean, but going back to your national event, in Florida, where I am, we have our brand is Fresh from Florida, and people sell under that brand, so people know what they get. You can go out and sell, you can advertise, you can sell. In Dominica, if we have Nature Island product or Nature Island foods, then since you have that stamp, Nature Island, people are looking out for it. So you already have to, your marketing is already halfway gone, you know? So that is one. We must have a national identity. Second thing, as I said, I got to know you at Boxing Plant, Mr. Thompson, I if you remember. But when you have agriculture, it's not only the farmer who plants stuff that benefit. A lot of services have to be done to make sure that product leaves that farm to the market. And people of all ages can participate and make money. And people with high education levels. Because look at DBMC. DBMC had over 100 workers. But you had data processors, computer persons, accountants, I mean, people who manage stocks, people in disease control. I mean, so many people, mechanics, got participated in the process. But every dollar we spent invested in bananas, we brought back $5. You know? So that's what an industry does. So government cannot be the one to manage a private industry like agriculture. You have to have government input because there's a lot of regulations required, but you let it go for the farmers and investors and let them make the investment. Government does have to subsidize and support it. Okay, so yes, we must have a national identity, and farmers must have the guarantee that when I decide to go and farm, I have all the support services, and when I produce, I can sell. You know what E.O. Libler did? E.O. Libler put marketing depot in every village in Dominica. And he bought coconuts, he bought yams, plantain, whatever. So our farmer that was produced, bring at the depot, they wait, pay him, and it bring down to a marketing depot, and they're the ones responsible for selling it.
That's when we had the marketing board, right? That was the
marketing board in those days. Yep. So that's where it started. So what we need now is government to make the necessary investment first in the infrastructure, because they allow all the roads to be abandoned. I mean, that's millions of dollars we lost over the years with our feeder roads. Imagine the Department of Agriculture had a feeder road unit. You know, we had that engineering unit that used to go out and help farmers with their roads, and all farmers had to do, pay the fuel. And they will bring their tires, they will spread it, they drain it, and I mean, they did wonders all over Dominica. As government came to disbanding it. Public works used to be one responsible for all the major feeder roads. They're no longer public works, you know. So government has it part to play. Irrigation. I mean, we were fortunate to be able to raise $36 million for irrigation projects. 6 major projects was identified with funding. We had a trained person went to train to come back to coordinate that project. Today, not one is operational. So we lost a lot. So there's a lot to be done, but Dominica has the potential, much more than all the other islands, because water is critical for agriculture. And Dominica has water. We have the sun they have, and we have the know-how. I know we have lost a lot in terms of experience, but we still have a few people like Steve who can train young people in production. So yeah, so the message tonight is Dominica have the potential. And what we need to do is give them the support, let them make the money, let them build their families, and support other industries. Because Roseau depend Roseau, the commercial business in Roseau depend on money from the farmers in the countryside. If people have no money, then the commercial business is dead. The commercial business is dead, you know? And to say that there's no government in the world that I know that can take care of everybody in the country. United States is the richest country in the world, and everybody looking for a job. Nobody waiting on government to give them something, you know? So we go in the wrong road, and Doc, I can say that our job now is to help young people understand that they can build a life for themselves. They don't have to depend on anybody to give them anything, any favors. They can use their talent, they can use their energy, and use their commitment and build a life for themselves.
Right.
And we have
and what we can do, honorable, is that we can give them as a government, Team Dominica United Workers Party, that when we become the government, we will give them that assurance. We will provide that support for them, you know, because we are interested in their development. We're interested in them making money. We're interested in they being prosperous, in them standing on their own. So our function as government will be to support them, provide this support around them that will allow them to thrive. And that is definitely what we want. And that's the commitment that we can give to the people of Dominica.
But Doc, as an economist, money follow money.
Mm-hmm.
If a man have $5, the $5 multiply to 20. If you have 20, you multiply to 100. You have 100, you multiply to 1,000. So money follow money. So the people that in the village, that broke, there's nothing to follow them. But anytime they start making money, it was expanding. So that's what we have lost. I said in the beginning, there are people, there's nobody. I heard the Prime Minister boast about $15 million going to Wesley and having so much money. Wesley village used to make $6 million, $7 million a year from bananas alone.
Yeah. From bananas,
and copra maybe another $2 million. And from so when you look at the collective income for Wesley, every year was over $15 million a year before labor. So that's the kind of money that used to circulate in those communities. And people did things. They build homes, they buy vehicles, they send children to school. I mean, you see what Dominica was able to achieve, And hurricane.
And that is where we are headed. That is where we are headed as a, and that's why we're having that conversation tonight, because we want people to understand that is our commitment. We want to remind them where we were, but more importantly, we want them to know where we are headed. And that is the direction we want to go, to let them understand that agriculture has money in it. And that's the reason why, as a government, we will invest heavily in the agriculture sector, because we understand that potential it has. The same potential it had 50 years ago continues to be there. And that's what we will build. That's what we will encourage.
Look, I heard After Hurricane David, I was part of the, I was part of the rehabilitation of agriculture. Farmers tripled their production and their income after Hurricane David. The money that we got and there was invested, farmers that used to make $1,000 end up making $3,000, $4,000 because there was an opportunity to put additional capital fund into agriculture. So we had Hurricane Maria, and nothing was being done. I mean, there's nothing you can show that we planted 1,000 coconut trees, or we had a coffee rehabilitation, or we had 50 avocado trees planted. Nothing you can put your hand
Yeah,
on
and
and
that to me
say,
was very shocking. Why would the government not want to do that right after a major hurricane? Do a major replanting scheme, especially citrus, and as you said, the potential is there. A little thing of dried mango. You just dry the mango and they put it in a bag, and people, chew on that, and big money for it. And those little things, and it's all around food. It's all around the
yeah,
food industry. But I like what you said, as well. You indicated that we are going to do it better and smarter. We're not just going to export our raw stuff overseas. So if you're making 100 million, we are going to make $500-600 million because we are going to add value
add
right here
value.
in America.
And the market is there. People like exotic things now. Like before when everybody used to what their culture provides. The culture is so widely spread now that people eating everything. You go into a market here, you can buy anything. Tanya, plantain, yam, you can buy breadfruit. I mean, we have a product called bread nut. I ain't seen why that bread nut can't be a product that can be sold like any nut in around the world.
Exactly.
You
Right,
know,
right,
Yes,
right.
yes. Just
you
to
know,
come in, here. Peter, I'm happy that you brought out certain significant points that we need to explore a little bit. And when you talk about a producer organization, we know this is sort of advisory, which means that they would have all necessary infrastructure and they will get into the production of things. They will transfer technological knowledge to farmers. They will get into the whole idea of marketing. But government is more regulatory in function, which means that they would have set the policies right and to incentivize the various sector. But let me just give the point of the whole idea of the irrigation when we spoke about. And that is very, very fundamental. Not only that we install irrigation systems to meet our water deficit during the pronounced period of droughts, but at the end of the day, we will try to eliminate certain seasonality of crops, which means
yes,
that we have crops for year round. So that again was some kind of incentive to producers not to think about stopping a certain production at a time because you do lack of that. But the foresight was that the irrigation system would have aided to have that continuous production year round. And it is very important. Not only that, we are going to move primary products into secondary products, whereby we would get to do light manufacturing. And just as we spoke about the mangoes, even just a combination of dry fruits, and you could turn them into candy and sell that. That is where we would have been right now. So after 21 years of loss of that kind of desire and incentive in agriculture, we are saying, look, this is a lost opportunity. And according to a caller earlier on, we just do not want to hear about what this government can do. I know these alternatives that we are putting forward is to get it right. And just as we're talking about irrigation, it comes back to mind again that we are not just irrigating for irrigating sake. We already set up the meteorological instruments to guide us with respect to irrigating so that we not over irrigate or under irrigate. We had the what they call evaporation pan to look at the rates of evapotranspiration taking place. We'd have the sundial to know how much sun is coming out. We'd have precipitation data to know exactly, well, look, how much rainfall has fallen so that we do not go and irrigate immediately after rainfall. And we had, Peter, you can remember very well, in terms of the history of our agriculture, we have always had backup in terms of planting materials, where we
yes,
had a propagation center where we'd allow the technocrats there, the extension officers to get involved into the whole propagation of planting material. So we always had a large quantity of planting material, whether it's bananas, plantain, cocoa, whatever it is. We had that there so that we could send out in the fields. Today we have seen the demise of our agricultural training centers, and they no longer exist, which means that we don't have any more training facilities for farmers. However, one of the techniques that we developed too as well, knowing that we were extension officers, we were the technical people, the interface between the farmer and the producer organization. We did not only tell farmers about what research is all about, because we are the research arm of the industry, where they did a lot of trials, and we ourselves had to take back that technology to the farmer. Some of the farmers were reluctant in doing it, or some did not get the results. We had to come back and say, look, researcher, good work, but so far this cannot work in this area, and they'll go back and look at it. And these are the things, and we adopted something that was very crucial. We extended the master technical people, we extended it to the farmers. So the good farmers, what we do, we train them in the respective catchment areas and allow them to have model farms, so that farmers in the area, in their immediate area, could come on their farms and see what we used to do. So we work with everybody, but we also used to have model farmers with their model farms, so that the neighboring farmers could, from time to time, go and get their education. We could have farmers lead the discussion into everything. I think the FAO some years ago introduced what they call school field farming, or field school for farmers, where they actually took the approach to do it on farm. That was more or less in Asia area, the Philippines and so forth. But that itself was sort of related to our condition as well. And so we adopted that kind of approach to have model farms, where we train farmers in various techniques, and in terms of integrated pest management techniques, where farmers would use less pesticide, where we encourage farmers to grow closer so that they can form canopies. Their cropping system would allow them to have canopies, so they have less intervention in terms of spraying applications. We'd have farmers do their drains to lower the water level, so that you can have more aeration and proper root development of the crops. So much has been done, and all of this now has just evaporated. So we're talking about, if we had to revive the rural economy, then these are some of the things that we need to revisit. But according to, if we have to go forward, we cannot rely on this cannot do government. This government who continues to kill the dreams of young people. We cannot rely on them. And so we are appealing to people that what Mr. Carbon is actually saying there, what we are actually saying to you is that we are showing that we have the resource, the human resource around us. We have men and women with diverse backgrounds that will do what is necessary to transform this economy. Dominica is still very much, and as Peter has said, we have the potential to grow in agriculture. We have the capacity to produce sufficient food for ourselves and to have enough to export. We'll not do like in the case of Brazil, where I know for sure some years ago, Brazil took the initiative to produce ethanol so that they could run their cars. But one of the mistakes I think they've made is that they produce the ethanol and they use the fuel for running their cars. But something they forgot about local consumption and enough for export, and they run into a little problem. But we have to organize. We have planners and people that are ready to not just put things on paper, but to implement and to get results, because we need results in everything that we do. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Susu. And before we go to the PRO, I just want to say what has resonated with me is to be able to go in the other countries, visit the other countries, what Mr. Carbon has said, and that I can say I would like the Nature Isle products or no branding. And this one, I believe, is so important to us as some of the pillars that Mr. Carbon has explained to us. Yes, Mr. PRO, we come to you now.
Yeah, go ahead. The discussion can continue. Mr. Carbon, we can continue to hear from you.
Okay. Yeah. What I'd like to do, I mean,
sorry, just before you go, somebody just sent me some information there that I just want to read out to let people know that what we're talking about is not just thing. Somebody sent me a table that shows the revenue in millions that were coming to the different constituencies. And let me just show you what it was. And I'm going to take Rosalie, which is my area. Rosalie, in 1995, okay, looking at this line, Rosalie, we brought in $4.43 million. So almost $4.5 million in 1995 in that area. 1996, 4.3 million. 1997, 3.9 million. 1998, 3 million. 1999, 3 million. All right, and it gets interesting. 1999, 3 million. Okay, and then it starts to decline very rapidly after that. So let's look at 2000. What happened? All right, let me just get back this line. Look at the numbers in 2000. So we moved from 3 million in 1999 to 2.6 million in 2000. Remember, that's when the Labour Party took office. In 2001, it was down to 1.6 million. Just 2 years later, we moved from 2.93 million, say 3 million to 1.4. Okay. Then a year later, 2002, it had dropped to 1.06 million. And in 2003, it was down to 0.69 million. And then 0.81 million. So you see the almost immediate decline under the Dominica Labour Party government when it comes to agriculture, which tells me that this government from the very beginning had no interest in sustaining the livelihoods of the people of the rural districts. And that's the reason why in those areas, Grand Fort, Mount John, Daly Seas, Wesley, Woodfordale, the people in those constituencies should not be voting a Labour Party government. They should be voting a government that showed that when it was there, it took care of the people. Imagine 4 million, no wonder everywhere was brand new pickups and so on, and brand new homes being built. I'm looking at the housing stock in those areas. All of those are back to that period when people built. So the numbers don't lie. The numbers are there. They shows the huge decline on the Labour Party as early as back as 3-4 years when the Labour Party government took over in Dominica.
And just to support Peter's point, it is that from 1995 to 2000. And by the way, the figures you were giving out there, they specifically related to one sector, that is the banana sector.
One crop.
Right?
The banana industry, yes.
From 1995 to 2000, the accumulative amount in terms of when United Workers Party is 20 point something $million for that period. So you're talking about 15 million you go and share, and farmers themselves were doing that for themselves. So you're right. If $20 million were generated by farmers and the government added 15, that'll be $45 million of investment. And you can imagine the returns on that. So there's nothing to shout about. Farmers were earning that amount for themselves. They work hard, fend for themselves, and was generating that, bringing that into the Dominican economy, and that money was being spent in the economy, generating jobs for people and encouraging people to expand, whether in housing, industrial development, and other investments.
And that's what bring back the milk and honey.
Of course.
And remember, as we had hurricanes during that period, so we had a drop in production. Even if you remember, in 2000 we had Hurricane Lenny.
Of course.
And when the banners came back in mid of 2000, Labour Party government failed to provide the resources to get boxes for farmers. I don't know if I remember that. But farmers couldn't get boxes to harvest the bananas. So a lot of the bananas stay on waste seed, and that caused a lot of people to just give up in 2000. But non-banana crop, we had a system where we were able to negotiate contracts, and we had a technical person from Africa in Dominica in 1999 helping us to implement a contract farming system for non-banana crops. And we started with dashing, peppers, plantains, and that is what you need to consolidate production. Because unless you plan your production, you can't sustain those markets. As your own experience, you couldn't get the product you wanted for your project, Dr. Fontaine. But if you had a contract system, sorry, forgive me, water, please, where you have 100 farmers and you skew their production in a way that every month 5 farmers can harvest, then you ensure that you have the production throughout the year.
Right.
But you have to be organized. Even for local supermarkets, some people say, oh, well, supermarket importing tomatoes and we have tomatoes wasting. But supermarket want to ensure that they have the production. So if our government was serious, they go to supermarkets and say, how many pounds of tomatoes do you need a month? 500 pounds, you make sure you organize, if it's 2 or 3 farmers that will supply it to the supermarkets on a regular basis. But it have to be planned and organized, you know. So agriculture require a lot of planning, a lot of technical support, and you can't depend on government machinery to do that. I mean, DBMC had over 100 staff members to support the farmers, you know. Now, Doc, I always wanted to touch on the others because some of them
livestock
might
and
not be.
fishing. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
fishing also give us another opportunity to make foreign exchange and to feed our people. What we did while in office, we organized a marketing system for fishing. So we had the fishing facilities. We sent people to get training how to manage fisheries. We could make salt fish at the fisheries. We could make fish sticks. I mean, with all kind of product at the fisheries during our time. But our major thing was that we put in $1 million fund for marketing. We had 2 refrigerated trucks, and all the fishermen had to do when they come with the fish, just call the fisheries 24 hours, and the truck go down, weigh the fish, and take it back to Roseau. Every weekend, every Friday, we were making payments. Doc, one fisherman made $30,000 a week, you know, while you're office. $30,000. So, because there was a system, we had stopped selling fish on the roadside, so the quality of fish was being maintained. And there was a system of marketing and even export. We exported fish during that period of time. Now, that is where you could support a commercial fishing industry. Somebody now can go in and say, okay, there's a fisheries marketing system. I can invest in fishing, buy a boat, bigger boats, more fish come in. I can just bring that to the fisheries. I get paid. They will do the processing and storage and whatever. So that was lost. In terms of livestock, we had a livestock development project. I heard the government today is talking about abattoir. Abattoir doesn't kill animals. That can't sustain the industry. But we had a well-planned program with animal feed, and the feed factory was built in Jimit. The machinery, everything was there. They dismantle it and dump it when they come with Patrick Carib. It was there already, a feed mixing plant. We had a breeding unit. If you go up to the heights of Salisbury, we had the pig breeding and the small stock and cattle breeding unit was moving from a stock farm up to Mount Prosper. That they killed. We also worked with the chicken growers in Trinidad to ensure that we get support for feed because the way they export it was too much for Dominica. So St. Lucia and ourselves will put together and to get our share from the Trinidad company. So everything was being done to build those industries, and they just was left on their own. So I heard chicken farmers crying for feed dearly, you know, because every bag of feed must come to Barbados or Trinidad or somewhere. When we had our own feed mill, we had our processing plant, part of the plan, and the French were supporting that financially. The French government was supporting the livestock industry. So we had the animal processing plant, which included an abattoir and processing, like we could make maybe smoked pork for ham and bacon and all the other stuff we're making from animal products, that would come from there. You know, that was
just briefly, it's interesting that you mentioned that the French were supporting us. I remember when we were doing the little experiment there in Martinique a couple of years ago, they were asking me about the potential for meats, fresh meat, you know, and so on. So I'm saying that this market is still there. All of those years later, it is still there, unexploited. So you can have a thriving livestock industry that can supply those markets, not counting about the value you can add. I talked about interesting when I first mentioned that the other side started making fun of it. But I said, but goat cheese. Goat cheese is a very expensive,
Yeah.
expensive cheese.
Yep.
I saw with my own eyes. We went up in the heights of Virginia in the USA and saw an area about 200 goats. And these people have an industry out of that.
Yep.
25, $30 a pound of goat cheese, and the kind of money that can be made. So there is so much that you can make out of the livestock industry, not only selling the live animals or the meat, but as you said, we can do the smoking and the bacon and so on, and you can still do those extractions from it, So that's another area that we will certainly be looking to invest in and to put people to work. These are the areas we need to really focus on and put people to work. And as you talked about the fishing as well, I was wondering, could we, for example, not consider having something like a kind of a canning industry? Because I just realized when I buy sardines, I stop eating sardines, but I eat sardines now because I hear it is very healthy and good. I realize it's cool. He's really cool they have
Yeah.
in it.
Yep. Yep.
He's really cool, and I'm wondering, why can't we be canning that ourselves in Dominica? And you buy a small can of sardine for so much money, so you can add value to those things that we have really in abundance in
But
Dominica.
Doc, as you say, Coolio, because of the hurricanes and the destruction of our coastlines, a lot of the coast fish we used to have in abundance is we no longer have it. But what we did, we got support to build a fish hatchery, a marine hatchery in Donkey Beach. The building is there, well equipped. I don't know if you remember seeing a building in Donkey Beach. That was a marine hatchery. And the whole
Okay.
idea was to hatch fish, conch, fish, lobster, hatch it in that facility and replenish our sea. And
Wow.
that was, that was top technology in 20 years ago, you know, and we had
Goodness.
the support of of friendly government to have all everything implemented, and that too was gone. We were thinking of doing thing like crab farming, which is done all over the world, but because of the signature crab back from Dominica, if we could get a crab farming business going, we could also go into a crab back industry, you know, because
Crab.
so, so
Could we also do crayfish, quibish industry? I mean, can you grow quibish in captivity? Crayfish.
of course. All those things. There's a lot we can do that will get young people to do research and get systems and whatever, and come up with products that can be high price and bring money for us. But unless you do it as a government, as a country, it's buried, you know,
Mm.
because we could do crayfish. Somebody was doing agouti, breeding agouti indoors. Now, agouti is a specialty meat. So we could ask our tourist industry can now, if we can breed the agouti, then we can less pressure on the wild, and we now can have it served throughout the year, you know. But we need the research, make sure that they know the feed, how to breed them, the health care. And that is why you train people. Because we train 1,000 young people. Where are they? They should be coming back to add value to the country. But if you don't create the opportunity, they're not going to be there. So we lose that resource. And that's what our country does. They train their people and they come back, they use their intelligence and their skills, they do research and add value to their products. You know?
Honorable, I'm listening to you there, and I'm just seeing just the whole range, and I'm sure so and Steve and Lambi and Ronald, you guys are seeing the same thing I'm saying. Just the range of potential, just the universe of things that can be done, and really the sky is the limit when you think about it in terms of if you and you what I like about it again, you're not just talking out of the blue. You're talking about practical things that the United Workers Party government
Was
implemented during the
yeah,
time in office. It is
yep.
there. Some of them are still there as relics because they were not developed by this administration. But it showed the kind of forward thinking. It showed how you guys were doing so much to build this country and to generate income. And and that's the beauty about the Workers' Party, I think, and I like a lot, and that's what attracted me to the Workers' Party, is the fact that you care about people. You're not interested in giving people handouts, but you're interested in ensuring that people can do for themselves, that they get the skill. You talk about training young people. You talk about the gentleman who called and talk about his prawn farm.
Yep.
When he was able to sell prawns and so on, make a living out of it. So that is such a different mindset, such a different philosophy to what we have now in government. And these are the stark choices that the Dominican public need to make. Do you want a government that will throw handouts on you, give you a little $300 when you could be making a 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000? I mean, these are the serious choices that we have to consider. And that's where we want the conversation to be at. Look at this government and look at what was done by United Workers' Party and what we are now discussing that we are going to do in the future.
Yes.
Yes. And thank you so much, Dr. Fontaine and Mr. Carbon, for your contribution. The other thing that really I want our guests to kind of comment on is the issue of the young people. There have always been young people always saying, well, agriculture is not for me. Give me your perspective, how we can, connect the issue with the young people and food security and giving them the assurance of the importance of agriculture.
I think we have had sort of a big break in our industry that it will take a lot. But I think it can still happen because the Young Farmer Training and Development Program, I believe, is a good start. I mean, we're talking about NEP. NEP that's what we did with the Young Farmer Training Program. We give them 6 months training, they develop a project for the farm, then they go back to the farm, we give them the implements, funding for their tools and equipment, give them the capital funding for their project. If you're going to plant 5 acres of planting, we give you the planting material, we give you the fertilizer, whatever. And during the time that you're planting, would pay you an allowance. So like what you would earn on the NEP, you'll be earning that while you're doing your farm. So I think it's still a good model for us to implement because the young people will be earning something and at the same time developing their farm. And by the time you get started with about 100 and they start making money, other young people realize that's the way to go. And then you can build up over time. But now it's very difficult because in the past, young people work with their parents on the farm. And that's the way they get their interest. They start making money and they just continue doing that. But because everything has stopped, there's no opportunity for young people now to go on the farm. When I was 8, 9 years, I was on the farm carrying stuff, picking up coconuts and doing limes and whatever. So it's part of my life, part of my growing up. Today, anybody that's 15, 16 never went on the farm,
I myself had to carry bananas after school,
Yep.
12, 10 boxes, and that was big business.
Okay, so now, yes, I mean, there's so much to be said, but we have call. We are now going to open the lines again to take calls, and if there's any questions that callers want to ask or just intervene on some of what was being said, they can go ahead. Yes, caller. Okay, there is no caller, but
Yes, callers, you're in tune to Workers' Voice. We are live on air. You can call 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. And the overseas line is 305-432-9624. Yes. Callers, you can call in.
yes, and
Yes, caller, you're live.
Yes, good night, gentlemen. I just want to confirm something that Peter Carbon was saying when he spoke about the prawn farm which was at Donkey Beach. That's something they were developing. And we also had that Belfast. It's true that the workers had a vision for the front farm because me in particular was sent to Taiwan accompanied by Porter Bruno to be trained so that we could hatch the egg and of the fishes so that we could develop that part of the prawn farm. Also, we were trained how to get the fishes from the salt water and make it be adapt to the sweet water. We had that training. But when the government came, they destroyed everything. And therefore, they not only destroyed the prawn farm, but they destroyed the development and income of the young people of this country. So Peter Carbon not telling a far-fetched story. Workers was already, how would I say it? They were already into it. They already not just planned it, but they were already working at it. Because my name is Alton Julian. I was sent to Taiwan accompanied by Porter Bruno. We went on that course.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. Yes, caller, you're live.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Charles.
Good evening.
Good evening to all the others on
Good evening.
Yeah, gentlemen, my vision of where the Dominica Labour Party failed is the fact that we used to do tours up through Salisbury to Anhoja, down into Carhome, and when we took those people there, we didn't have to say much. The people were glorifying what they saw. They saw the grapefruits, they saw the banana fields, they saw the pumpkin, whatever, and they were amazed that you could even do agriculture in that kind of a terrain. So they had some respect for Dominicans because of what they saw, how they worked in and where they were working. So if you want to see how the Dominica Labour Party has failed the farmer, go to those places now. And if you can, even in a four-wheel drive, some of those places are hard to get to. If you go up, let's say, Cuba Road, at some point it's just no longer a road. I just spoke to a gentleman today. He had his four-wheel drive getting repaired, and it was damaged negotiating that road because he has a farm up there. And he has a very tall four-wheel drive pickup truck, and it was still getting damaged on that kind of road. So the neglect of the roads, just imagine back then, the government took care of all those feeder roads, and today the DLP administration is boasting about this and that, yet all these roads have fallen into disrepair, and they have not spent much money on them, or none at all in most cases. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. The calls are coming in fast and furious. Yes, caller, you're live.
Hello?
Caller, you're live.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Good night, sir. How can we help you?
Is that the Workers' Voice?
This is the Workers' Voice. Yes, you're live.
Yeah. I just calling the same NEP program, the farmers' situation. I find the NEP program in Dominica not too bad, but it's the organization of NEP.
Why? In other words, the sustainability of the NEP.
Yeah. Because when you cut the grass this month, you cut it next month, and that's it. Why the NEP workers? Why they're not NEP workers working on the farm to produce agriculture, or to produce on a pig farm or a fowl farm? And it's 2 days a week per farmer. The same NEP workers. So that's going to enhance. There'll be a little something coming back at the end of it for Dominica.
Thank you.
And all the NEP workers, they were the ones doing the farm. You could hire them to do your agriculture for you, and now they are on the road cutting grass, and the agriculture must die.
Good observation, caller. Thank you so much for calling.
Okay.
Yes, caller, you're live.
Yes, good evening to you.
Good
Mr.
evening,
Sal.
caller. You're live to the Workers' Voice. How can we help?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Charles.
Good evening, sir.
And good evening to Soso and Steve and Dr. Thompson Fontaine and Mr. Peter Carbon.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I have
Good
to
evening. Good.
When I spend time beside, I'm going to listen tonight, any workers program, Mr. Peter Carbon happened to come on. And the things he say, it is me in places I cannot even scratch about us and coconut water. And tonight there he added water, bottling water. I mean, I see Dominica bottling water, having three different factories bottling water. But each factory have three different brand names of water. And they working 24/7 around the clock. You understand me? But then this administration decided to take the people that could be employed in those factories and put them on the road to cut the grass. There are so many of them cutting grass. I went to a meeting at Cochrane's school once when Mr. Skerrit came. And somebody started talking about people that probably cook for 10, they sit down and they sit. But if you pass and you see the NAP workers, it's like sitting down is what they come to do. You understand me? And I see some fellas down Forkole by road, young boys, or maybe they get too old by that time. And I'm into welding, and these are the kind of people I would like to pass my trade on to. You understand me? These pass my trade on to them because I'm in my twilight where the welding thing is concerned. And there's so much things that we can do. Some people, who brain is somewhere in behind the most part, talking about if not passport. What? Look at what passport is doing to us now. Nobody had to tell me. I didn't go to high school. Nobody had to tell me what Graf Gonzalez said. At some point that passport thing will backfire on us, and it has already started backfiring on us.
Thank you, caller. Caller,
yes,
thank you so much for your contribution.
All right then. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Overseas call, you're live.
Yeah, greetings, the same Ronald Charles.
Yes.
Yes, and the entire panel. I'm listening to the program tonight, but tonight's program have a different flavor, which is very, very, very good. What I mean by that is the clear vision that UWP is presenting, and I think it's very important because, as they said, without a vision, the people perish. And the former agriculture minister, he's really good on that because, this guy, he have the experience, they done it already, so I know it could be done again. But the UWP has to focus on that clear vision. And the people will understand it. We could sell it to our neighbors. We could tell them how we would like to see Dominica in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I think we'll go a long way because so much potential in agriculture. I wouldn't even touch that tonight because a lot has been said. But I just want to say thanks for that clear vision. And that's what the UWP must concentrate on. The messaging and the inspiration, the enthusiasm, the energizing effort to get people excited with that clear vision, because anybody listening to the program tonight, I know they get it. So we have to maintain that momentum. And so Forozo, you the man. You understand exactly what I'm talking about, I'm sure. Present the vision clearly, so we all know we don't need to depend on nobody to give us for $2 and $3 and $5 to vote for them. But if you present a clear vision, we know where we're going, we know where we're heading, we know what we want our country and how we want our country to be in every aspect: agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, sports, entertainment, the whole program. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you for listening. Yes, caller, you're live. You're live to the Workers' Voice.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
Let me commend the panel for a very inspiring conversation tonight. It is one that makes us reflect on who we are, and it helps us to look internally, because a lot of times we look externally for solutions, that we have solutions right within us. And tonight gave us a clear pathway as to a number of things we can do as Dominicans, things that we can do that will not soil our name, but will make us feel proud that here it is again, we can produce products of excellence that can be in the top supermarkets of the world, in the top niche markets of the world, and generate revenue that can transform our rural communities and provide sustainable livelihoods for the rural community. I speak with over 34, 35 years experience in rural agricultural development.
Yeah.
People like Mr. Carbon, Mr. Michael Didier, Dr. Osborne Barron, and others were my mentor. And what Peter is talking about is not pie in the sky. It is things that can be done. The thing with agriculture, it requires an overarching policy that has a clear vision. It needs committed people who are willing to implement and do the hard work.
Yep.
Agricultural development is not no easy work. People like Soso can tell you. There are times you would have to go on farms early morning, 5 o'clock, and farmers would ask us whether we sleep there. There are times you would have to be on the farm 6 o'clock monitoring to ensure people doesn't harvest too early. That was the type of commitment you had to ensure that all the areas are covered. And so we as a people must recognize that God has blessed us with an abundance of water. He has blessed us with good soil. We need the capital, we need the policy, we need the supporting structures, we need I haven't heard the whole question of transportation. Transportation is one of the elements for us to have a vibrant agricultural sector. Our boating sector is aged and they need to be upgraded. They need to have the infrastructure that they can be refrigerated so that you can have temperature controlled products leaving our market to the other regional markets. If we can have a boat leaving to go to Guadeloupe, leaving to go to St. Martin and Antigua, and the products are under refrigeration, it gives our product an added advantage in the marketplace in terms of the quality, the presentation, and then we're going to have more demand. The more demand we have, we're going to talk about an expansion project to expand in the different crops. Just to add and reflect on an answer, in terms of the drought and over the years that the attractiveness of agriculture over the last few years maybe have turned some people away. Let us say that there are also new opportunities in agriculture. We can now think of how do we tie agriculture with IT. We know a lot of young people are interested in information technology, and with the different food systems it has, you're going to need information technology to track the different stages of production, to track the delivery of the product, to track where the product is coming out. So there are a lot of new opportunities where people who have an agricultural background and people who are interested in IT can now combine. So it now brings new opportunity in both agriculture and IT. So that a lot of our young people who are studying, they have additional opportunities. But again, we need the right policy. A government with 7 or 8 ministers over 24 years is showing you that the agricultural sector is certainly on shaky grounds. And we need to have a firm hand in terms of the policy direction of agriculture. Thank you, gentlemen. A very good program.
Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you.
And more calls are coming in. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, gentlemen. Again, protocol already established.
Good evening, sir. Thank you.
Listening to Mr. Former Minister Carbon, the young people out there would believe he's talking about an administration which was in power for 2 or 3 terms, But I want to let them know and to remind those who know that was only
4.5 years,
Say it again, caller.
only 4.5 years. All what Mr. Carbon is saying that happened, there was only 4.5 years. People saying that the young people are not interested in agriculture. You don't expect young people to go and bending down their back on the farm with cutlass. And so some of the young people have become innovative now that they are using brush cutters to get rid of their weed on the farm. The PRO will remember a gentleman called Spencer Phillip, who was way ahead of his time. He had tractor on his farm already. So far as what we could do now. So that's what the United Workers Party have to do. And that's what the United Workers Party will do when we get back into office. We're going to be innovative and make the young people be interested to go into agriculture again. I was just telling a young man today, a police officer, that when I worked with St. Kitts, there was a guy who was employing about 3 or 4 young men to dive conchs for him, that he would export to the Caribbean islands. And they were well equipped with their oxygen tank, not just going and dive conchs just like that. And one of your callers just before I go, one of your callers mentioned about tour guiding. I wonder how many of you gentlemen know that there is a lake in the heights of Kulibi Street. Ask Ross Charles from Kulibi Street. I remember he had a peepee on that lake. They had a lot of big fishes and so. Could you imagine a road or a track to that lake? Many people know about the Roseau Valley, but I sure they don't know about the Kashumono Lake.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller. Now, the calls are coming in fast and furious, but we have about 10 minutes to go in the program. And of course, we would want to hear from our guests their closing remarks. Notwithstanding that, I really like what came out from the callers this evening, because that is why in the introduction of this program, you heard from one of the hosts, Mr. Glenroy Soso Coffee, Soso Ferrozo, saying that the agricultural sector is wide, it is big, it is massive. Our PRO also said that. That is why the agricultural program or the agriculture, a pillar of Dominican's economy, is going to be for over a couple of weeks, because we have, agro processing, and one of the callers spoke about that. How the young persons can get themselves engaged in agriculture and still get into the skills that they require by using their little gadgets, and will be able to love agriculture. Because you see, the thing is that, like what Mr. Carbon have been saying, our political leader, our PRO, and Soso Ferrozo have been articulating, it is important that the young people understand that the agriculture that they are not seeing, or the agriculture that they think that is going on. In the past time, we and people like Mr. Carbon and the United Workers Party government then were able to have so many things going. And guess what? Without the 6.4 billion. Okay. Now, having said that, we're going to go to our guests again so that we can maybe start with our PRO to give a small closing remarks. Then we'll go to Mr. Soso. Of course, our guests will then have, and we'll have the final words from our political leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine. Mr. PRO, the floor is yours.
Yes. Let me state clearly. There are one or two of our colleagues that believe that persons that want that type of information we're sharing now should go to our manifesto. You cannot tell a young person to go and look for a manifesto of the United Workers Party to get our vision, our plans, our programs. That is why we are concentrating on that aspect of the pillar of the Dominican economy. So over the next few weeks and months, you're going to hear of our plans. So while we fight for electoral reform and we expose the filth in government, the picking up of what people do produce, we're going to share with you how we're going to create a wealth in the Dominican economy. We're going to tell you how a United Workers Party government within the first 6 months will provide farmers with the necessary tools to trim their breadfruit trees on their farm and in their yard so that they can export breadfruit. Breadfruit is selling like hot bread in the region, but the trees are too tall for the farmers to harvest it. Simple things, we can create wealth for the Dominican people. I wouldn't be long because I'm going to be on the program almost every week. So I would like to call another speaker.
Almost a week.
Closing remarks, Mr. Soso.
Yes, let me say thank you again for the opportunity. I know this has been amazing. We have told the Dominican people that we are ready, and we have demonstrated time and time again that we are ready. I just want to narrow down on the point of the importance of agriculture, integrated information communications technology, that we can actually use this to forecast, do forecasting, to do traceability on our farms, to see the origin of crops, what we use, even record keeping. We need to take records of what we do so that we can track the history of how we operate, see what worked for us, see what is more productive, and even use it to do to analyze and to do what they call productivity assessment to see whether or not we're making profits. And so we can even use even portable GPS equipment to actually use the farms, to go on the farms and record the coordinates. So I can know if Lambia has a farm in Calibishi, I can go on it with GPS equipment and register his coordinate of his farm. I could use either the shed or particular feature on the farm so that we know this is Lambi farm when we talk about this coordinate. If it's 2.2, we know 2.2 is in Calibishi. And so we are saying, Dominica, we have potential, but we have presented ourselves to be the viable alternative. And we are saying to you, Dominicans, do not waste more time. Get it done. Use your democratic hands. Get this government out. Get your country running. Get moving with respect to improving your quality of life. You can only be responsible for the actions that you take. And one of the actions that you should take is to ensure, using that democratic hands, to remove this government and install a government that will look in your best interest. Mr. Carbon, let me say thank you for the opportunity tonight. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And I want to say to the honorable leader, thank you very much. I know what time it is in South Sudan, I've been working it out, and I cannot understand. I cannot understand what kind of man you are, but it tells me that you'll be burning the midnight coil to ensure that the farmers of Dominica and by and large the various sectors of the economy will grow. Thanks for that, Mr. Piero. Thanks again for the opportunity. And all those, Lambi, thanks. Oh, Ronald, thanks. And I want to say, Dominicans, thanks for all those who call. And let me see, we have better things ahead of us. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, Soso and Honorable Mr. Carbon. Your closing
Yeah,
remarks.
yes. I want to make two short points. One is our experience with Bello. Bello used to import pepper sauce, the puree from Costa Rica to bottle and make pepper sauce in Dominica. We went to Bello and said, we can supply you with enough peppers. And we came to an agreement, and within a year, Bello had all the pepper he needed to make pepper sauce in Dominica, and we had fresh pepper for export. That is where government, you take initiatives and you produce opportunity for your people. So rather than thousands of dollars going to Costa Rica to buy peppers, we had over 100 farmers in Dominica supplying Bello on a regular basis. Now, we have to recognize that unless the people can earn a livelihood, the best of us will live. People with ambition, people who have goals, will not stay and depend on somebody to give them a little change on the side. So over the years, what we have is our best people are leaving us, and the rest that remain cannot undertake what is required to build the country. So we need a government that will be able to motivate the people, supply the program, supply the resources, and allow your people to grow and create opportunities for those behind.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well said, our guest, Honorable Mr. Carbon. And for the political leader, your closing remarks, sir.
Mr. Charles, few things in that get me as excited as talking about agriculture and talking about people's livelihoods and how you can change people's outlook on life, or you can change their lives. I'm a product of agriculture, and I hesitate to think how different my life would have been if I was raised during that period of Labour Party rule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering what would have become of me,
Yep.
of my siblings, whether I would have achieved what I have achieved. whether my parents would have been able to take care of me, because my parents had 11 of us. Imagine having to go and ask for favors for 11 children. But because of agriculture, they were able to work hard. They brought us onto the field. So I learned to peel the coffee. I learned to plant the dasheen. I learned to carry the bananas. I learned to skin the cinnamon. I learned to pick up the nutmeg. I learned all of these things as a child because I understood that you had to work hard along with your parents so you could get a better life. And the lessons that I learned in agriculture, that is what sustained me. I can stay up now because I had that discipline as a kid, as a child. The same discipline I apply to my studies, I apply to my work, I apply now to giving back to Dominica. So there it's exciting for me when I think about it, in terms of how agriculture itself has developed me as a human, as a person. But more exciting for me is the potential that agriculture holds. Yeah, I am listening to Minister Carbon and some of the things that I've been thinking about. He's saying, but we did this thing 30 years ago, you know, trying to grow fish so that we can keep them, we can keep that going, doing the prawns that we can do. We looked at, agouti and crabs and so on, crab backs, these crab back is a delicacy that we can do. And if we can grow the crabs, why not? So the potential of this, just the tremendous potential that exists, from canning of our fish to preserving of our livestock to supplying the French markets with what they want from us and so on. Looking at those numbers that we saw, $5 million, $4 million, $5 million in Wesley, $4 million in the Rosalie area, just from bananas, So when you think of the potential and when you think of where we as a party and where we are, and I'm so blessed and feel so good that I can work with like-minded individuals, persons who have a deep caring for agriculture, who have a deep caring for the people of Dominica, who want to see the people of Dominica improve their lives. When I talk to I talk to Steve, I talk to the others in the party, what they're looking for is to improve the lives of the people of Dominica.
Yep.
It's not so much about us, it's about ensuring that our people can earn, or young people in particular can find their way in life. They can be proud to call themselves Dominicans. They're not simply looking to run away from our shores, but looking to develop the country. That is what gives me the energy and the desire to want to be doing this at 4:01 in the morning and not think twice about it.
Wow.
That is what drives me, and that is what drives a lot of us that are working together to sell that vision to the people of Dominica, because our young people in particular have been so blinded by this government. They've been made to think that their lives are not necessarily worthwhile or worth much. Zero, booze, marijuana. But there is so much more. There is so much more that we could be offering our young people. Our young people could be innovators. Our young people could be developing apps to help grow the agriculture product, developing apps to help the farmers track different planting and so on season, tracking the inputs, the requirements and so on, doing innovative things. There is so much that we could be offering our young people. And that is what we want to do. That is what we want to offer to the people of Dominica and to the young people in particular. That Team Dominica, we are committed to this. We are committed to developing your lives. You're committed to improving your lives. And we have the firm belief that one of the best ways of doing this is not to sell passports. I'll be very clear. It's not to sell passports, not to sell our citizenship. But one of the best ways of doing this is to develop what God has given us, the land that has served us. As you guys know, I'm a history buff. I love history. I'm going to look back into history.
Negmao.
And I see, I see how agriculture has through the years been the mainstay, you know, whether it's vanilla or cocoa or coffee. When I read in the history in the 1830s, Dominica coffee was the most valued coffee on the Japanese market in the 1830s. You know, when you see what this country of ours has given to the world, J.B. Charles selling Dominica limes in Russia and in the Far East. When you see what this country of Dominica has given to the world in the past through agriculture, and that same land is there, that same land as fertile as ever, as rich as ever, we
Yep.
can do this. We can develop this again for the benefit of our people. So that is why we are spending so much time on this. That's why we will come back over and over on this topic. So don't get tired of hearing us, because we firmly believe that that is the way for us to go as a party, to focus on developing lives. But the way we do that is to focus and invest in agriculture. So over the next few days and few weeks, we'll have a lot to tell you as a party, where our vision is, where our head is, you know, for this country. And we want you to join us in that fight. We want you to join us. It's a fight not just for us, it's a fight for all of us. It is a fight to liberate us from where we are, to get us to a better place. You know, let us dream again. Let us begin to believe again. Let us begin to trust that we can do better as a people, that we don't have to rely on government for a handout. You know, let us believe that we don't need that. We don't need to be walking up the steps of ministry, going after our power rep for something, for a handout. We are better than that, man. We are better people than that. You know, let us believe that, and let us believe that what God has blessed us with, which is our land, which is our agriculture, we can make that work for us. And that is what we're about. That is what we're about. And we will do it, we'll develop it, we'll be smart about it, we will add value to it. We'll be doing the chips. We'll not just be sending our plantains to Antigua so that they can make $8 a pound while we make $1.25 a pound. No, we will be doing it itself here in Dominica. All right, so there's a lot more that we can say, we can talk about tonight, but let me just thank all of you. Honorable, I thank you so much. We'll certainly have you back with us, you know, to share your, you know, and you know, I was just thinking, when we're ready, when we are ready in government, the kind of expertise we have at our disposal. You know, I did one of the callers I recognized, I think it was Errol, who called 45 years in that area, just a wealth of knowledge, just waiting, you know, to be of use and to make that knowledge available. So Sparks John, you know, Honorable Edison James even, all of these expertise that we have, you know, that we can bring to bear on agriculture and really make this the pillar of our industry, or the pillar of that new vision for Dominica, that building of wealth, that creation of wealth, that making our people prosperous, you know. So it is a journey that we're on. It's a journey that we are committed to. It's a journey that we will succeed at with your help. With your help, we cannot do it alone. That's why we need electoral reform. That's why we need a clean voters list. That's why we need a level playing field, so that the people of Dominica who buy into our vision can give us the confidence and put us into office. That is how it's going to happen, and that is what we believe in, and that's where we are. So we just want to thank all of you, and I know, you know, the number of persons on social media who are tuned in. The interaction there is great. Thanks. You know, I know it's great that you're taking your time to send the comments. There are always one or two people that are trying to be, you know, mischievous and stuff, but that is okay. We are willing. We are willing to entertain you, always willing to entertain you. You know, we'll be honest with you in terms of what we think we can bring to the table, what we can do to develop Dominica. But that is fundamentally about developing Dominica.
Wow.
That is fundamentally about changing course. It is about planning for and sketching the path for a brighter, better future for all of us. Let us join together. Let us forget parties, labels and symbols, and let us focus on
Negativism.
doing it together as Dominica. Together, Team Dominica, we can do this. Let us work hard. And thank you guys, for your commitment, for your effort. And we just want to remind Dominicans as well that as we go on with those programs, you'll be hearing different voices from all over Dominica. We'll be bringing, the women, the young people, the elderly. You'll be hearing all voices, because at the end of the day, it's all of us doing this together. It's not one individual. It's not
Yep.
one person. It's all of us working together. Together we can do better. Together we are so much stronger. Together we are so much better. And that is what we want to do tonight. And I find I'm talking a lot tonight, but I'm
No
with
problem. Doc, you're batting, you're not talking, you're batting. Thank you. Thank you so much. And as we come to the end of
so thank you very much, God. Guys,
just
God bless
before we
you.
come to the end of this tonight's show, or we could say tonight, Workers' Voice, let me again thank our guest speaker, our guest speakers, Mr. Carbon. Thank you so much for taking time out for being part of this wonderful discussion. Of course, our PRO, Mr. Steve, the Iron Man, and Benjamin. Thank you so much for being there. Of course, Soso for Ruzo. Thank you for being there. All our listeners, diasporas, our callers, the whole team, thank you so much for being there while we continue to do agriculture or to speak on agriculture, Pillar of Dominica's economy. Of course, we'll be back here on April 11th, 2024, God's willing. For right now, just before I leave the studio, let me just say, remember, Sunday is the opening of the cycling season. And of course, it's a grand opening. We have guests coming from the neighboring countries to be part and parcel of our cycling opening event. So Dominicans, look out from 9 a.m. Marboy Bar to Kenfield and back 6 times. You have guys from St. Lucia, Antigua, St. Martin, and they're going to take on our boys like Koav Baron, Ajani Kazimi, and of course, man like Daddy Chess. So it's going to be big. It's going to be great. It's going to be nice. So long, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. And join us again next week on the 11th of April while we continue to speak agriculture. This is the Workers' Voice. We continue to educate Dominica. We continue to make you part of us. We continue to bring brighter light for a better future. Thank you, and so
Thank
long.
you. Good
God
night.
bless. God bless. Good night. Good night.
From the Father of creation, yeah, yeah. One love. What about the one? Let's get together and feel alright. I'm fleeing to mankind. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Give thanks and praise to the Lord. Feel
Yes, we gotta go. We gotta go.